American Immigrants by Slava Petrovsky. The United States of America is a land of immigrants. Immigrants are people who leave their homeland and come to live in another country. The history of immigration to the United States started a long time ago. Scientists have found evidence that people lived here over 12,000 years ago. Some scientists believe that people from northern Asia came here at that time and were the ancestors of the Native Americans. After Spanish people went to Mexico in the 1500s, some settlers from Mexico came to areas that are now part of the United States. English settlers came to Virginia and Massachusetts in the early 1600s. In the year 1620, a ship called the Mayflower carried a group of 102 immigrants, men, women, and children, from England to Plymouth, Massachusetts. Since that time, many millions of people from all over the world have come to live in the United States. Most immigrants chose to leave their homelands for similar reasons. They wanted better lives. They wanted to live in a free country. They wanted a good education for their children. They wanted to be free to practice their religion without fear. Many came to escape wars and famines. They came in search of jobs. They wanted to take advantage of the many opportunities the United States could offer them. But one group of immigrants did not choose to come here. Many people from Africa and Caribbean lands were forced to come here as slaves. They were brought here against their will to work as unpaid workers. Early immigrants came to the United States from all over the world. Many of the immigrants had to travel by ship to get to the United States. Their ships had to cross either the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. The sea voyage was long and hard. Usually the ships were crowded. Often there was not enough food or medicine. The immigrants came under menacing conditions, but they were determined to reach their destinations, the American shores. Many of the early immigrants were literate. They could read and write their own languages. Many were skilled. They had training in an occupation. Some were unskilled. Some of them wanted to learn English and to assimilate into the American culture. The prefix "un." The prefix "un" means not. A prefix can be attached to a word to form a new word. The prefix "un" and the word "sure" make unsure. Unsure means not sure. Unskilled is a word used on this page. What does it mean? Many immigrants lost contact with their relatives back home. The only way for immigrants to communicate with family far away was letter writing. The telephone was still a new invention. As a result, many immigrants focused on building their new lives in the United States. They made new friends. They built new homes and communities. They adopted some American customs. With so many immigrants entering the United States by sea, the government opened two main ports of entry to welcome them. Angel Island in California's San Francisco Bay registered immigrants who came across the Pacific Ocean. Ellis Island in New York Harbor registered immigrants who came across the Atlantic Ocean. Both of these islands now have immigration museums. Ellis Island in New York's harbor is now the site of an immigration museum. Albert Einstein, one of the greatest scientists of modern times. Did you know that many brave, adventurous immigrants became famous and brought fame to America? Many made outstanding contributions to America and enriched our lives in many ways. Here are success stories of 3 immigrants. Have you ever heard of Albert Einstein? He immigrated to the United States from Germany in 1933. He became a professor of physics at the Institute for Advanced Study in New Jersey. He became a U.S. citizen in 1940. Einstein was a brilliant physicist and is considered to be the most famous scientist of modern times. He won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921. Irving Berlin was a famous composer of American popular music. Do you recognize the name Irving Berlin? He came to the United States from Russia in 1893. When he was only 5 years old, he became a great songwriter and composer. He wrote many popular songs and Broadway musicals. He was very patriotic. One of his most famous songs, God Bless America, has become a popular patriotic anthem in the United States. In 1954, in recognition of that song, President Dwight D. Eisenhower presented Mr. Berlin with a Congressional Gold Medal. Mr. Berlin donated the money he made from that song to the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of America. Madeleine Albright served as U.S. Secretary of State. Madeleine Albright was born in 1937 in Prague, Czechoslovakia. In 1948, her family moved to Switzerland, where Madeleine learned to speak both English and French well. In 1950, her family moved to the United States. Madeleine won a full scholarship to Wellesley College and majored in political science. In 1992, President Clinton selected Madeleine to be the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. In 1996, he selected her to serve as U.S. Secretary of State. She was the first woman to ever hold such a high office in American government. Today's immigrants still come from countries all over the world, but it is easier for them to get here now. Now they can travel by plane or other transportation and be here in just a few hours or days. They can stay connected to their families and friends back home. They can talk on the phone. They can email people in any part of the world. Some can go home to visit. Their relatives and friends can fly to the United States for a visit. Family ties can remain strong. Today, friendships can continue no matter where you live. Today's families in different countries can keep in touch with phones, computers, and travel. Many immigrants come to the United States and open businesses. Throughout history, immigrants brought their customs and traditions with them. Their languages, art, music, and foods became part of the American culture. You can see the importance of immigrant cultures everywhere in our society. There are different ethnic restaurants, such as Chinese, Indian, or Mexican. You can see store signs in foreign languages. You can find newspapers in many of the languages that immigrants speak. Did you know that newspapers and magazines in languages such as Spanish, Chinese, Russian, French, Haitian, Japanese, and Italian are published in the USA? Many cities have radio and TV stations that offer programs in Korean, Spanish, Chinese, Russian, Italian, and French, among other languages. The dragon dance is usually performed during the celebration of the Chinese New Year. Immigrant groups show pride in their cultures and traditions in different ways. Among the most popular are the celebrations of holidays and parades honoring different cultures. For example, in most cities with large Chinese American populations, the Chinese New Year is a popular public celebration with parades and fireworks. Different groups organize street parades. For example, Irish Americans celebrate their traditions with the St. Patrick's Day Parade. One of the most famous St. Patrick's Day celebrations takes place in New York City. A long green line is painted along the route of the parade. Green is a color that represents the Irish. Bakeries bake green bread, muffins, and cakes. People wear green clothes or green ribbons. Mexican Americans celebrate their culture with Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, parades. In these parades, people drive colorful floats and march in the streets. Green, red, and white are the favorite colors since they represent the Mexican flag. There are many more parades honoring and remembering the cultures and traditions of different immigrant groups. People of all nationalities watch these parades, participate in their celebrations, and feel their spirit. That is what makes America great. It is a nation of immigrants who now stand united as one people, no matter where they came from. Many Mexican Americans celebrate Cinco de Mayo with a parade. Talk about it. 1. What are some of the reasons that immigrants came to live in the United States? 2. Why is it easier for today's immigrants to keep in touch with friends and family than it was for those who came in the 1800s? Write about it. 3. Do you know people who came to live in the United States from another country? On a separate sheet of paper, write one person's story. Extend language. Assimilate is a verb that has more than one meaning. Assimilate means to become part of a culture. Many immigrants assimilate by learning a new language. Assimilate can also mean to absorb an idea or to take nourishment, such as food. We studied the book and assimilated the new ideas. In this story, which meaning of assimilate does the author use?